If you've ever wanted to generate streaming synthetic data to Kafka, let me introduce you to ShadowTraffic. ShadowTraffic is a container that runs locally on your laptop, programmable by a JSON DSL. You specify what your data should look like and where it should go, and ShadowTraffic takes care of the rest. Let's do a basic example of customer and order data. Here I'm going to start on my text editor, outputting data to a Kafka topic called customers. And I'm going to give customers a really simple thing, which is the same name for everyone. We're going to call everybody Bob. Here on the left, I'm actually going to run ShadowTraffic. I use it with Docker, and I mount in my configuration file for volume mounts, and I specify 3 development flags. I'm going to send all of the events standard out, sample just 5 of them, and put it into watch mode, so whenever this file changes, it automatically reruns. Just as expected, all of my customers are named Bob, all 5 samples. But what I want to do is randomize this. Here I can use functions in ShadowTraffic to say, insert a full name here. What ShadowTraffic actually does is it scans your configuration file and looks for maps with a key called _gen and compiles a function in place to randomize the values. So now instead of Bob, I have Neville, Danetta, Warner, and Francesco. I can do more things. Instead of name, I can also have an age. And I can say that my age is a normal distribution of about 40 years with a standard deviation of 20 years. This is looking good in that my age has showed up, but I have all these decimal places, which is not what I want out of the box. What I want are whole numbers, and I can use function modifiers to do that. Function modifiers let you change the behavior of just about any function on the fly. So I can turn my decimals down to 0, and I can also say that I'm only interested in having events with people between ages 18 and 65. If I do that, it's actually gone ahead and it's clipped off the ends to make sure the values are always in the bounds that I want. Let's go ahead and pair this up with something more interesting. I'm going to add a new topic called orders, and I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to create data in the value side of the record, and I'll put something really simple to get started. Let's say every order has an amount, and I can perhaps do a uniform distribution of anywhere between $10 and $100, and money is usually transacted with decimal places set to 2. When I do that, my data is going round robin, orders, customers, and it looks good. And what I actually want to do is to say that my orders have a customer ID. What customer ID? Well, often you might just make these up, but what you actually need to do is make the customer IDs in the customers topic correspond to the customer IDs in the orders topic. So let's get started with the easier side. In my ID on my customers topic, I can just say I want to have a UUID placed here, please. And let's see, that will work really, really well. Here, my UUIDs are starting to show up. And now what do I do over here? I actually can't just say, hey, pick a random UUID, because these values are actually never going to match. And so they're basically useless for your application. What you need to do is actually look up values that were produced to the customers topic before and reuse them here. And there's a really easy function you can use in ShadowTraffic to do that, which is called lookup. You just give it the topic that you sent data to, and then you say what part of the topic do you actually want to parse out. And so when I save that, you can actually see an example in the customers data here, where the customer ID is a full record that's already been produced. So what I want to do is in this path value, I'm going to drill in and say I want the value part of the record, and then just give me the ID. And now these things should be matching up. They're looking better. But how do I actually know that for sure? Well, let me do one thing as a baseline check and actually get all this data into Kafka and not just print it out standard out. So I'm going to turn up my sample size to 500, take off standard out and watch it. And then we go ahead and actually have my my Kafka consumer here, and if I save the file again, you'll see the data just spool by. So this is looking better and better. But still, these IDs are kind of hard to verify, and it's always a little bit cumbersome actually checking the data with the Kafka console consumer or any kind of UI that's just giving you raw data. What you actually want to see are the semantics of the data, and for this, you can use ShadowTraffic Studio, which is a visual debugger to see what's going on. So here I'm going to open up port 9876 and forward it on to 8080, and then I'm going to redirect all the data back out to standard out and say with Studio. And then I'm going to turn down the number of records just so it's a little bit more manageable for us to look at. If I do that and I open up my web browser to 9876 and I resave my file, what I see is each of my topics showing up on a visual track showing the first record, the second record, the third record produced. And here I can look at the data actually produced in the raw form. But what's most useful is that I can take any of these records and say show origins and actually look at how the data maps between itself. ShadowTraffic is recording metadata as it runs to do the lineage to map which values are corresponding to which other derived values. And so here on the 9th record produced to orders, I can see that the customer ID is 261D, and this corresponds to the 4th record that was produced out to customers in 261D. And so it's very easy to walk your way between these records and see how they work back and forth. ShadowTraffic has all kinds of knobs to be able to control volume, velocity, and the variety of your data. And it makes it really easy and fun to do development, testing, and any kind of demos. So thanks for taking a look.